Hey everyone, I want to let you know that the video you're about to watch is a re-upload. So many of you who are subscribed may have likely seen it already. A few days ago, I uploaded this video with the title, "Please Stop Killing Physical Games." The video was flagged as inappropriate, which happens sometimes. Terms like dead, shooter, in this case likely killing, can get a video flagged. It sucks that you have to lose out on revenue for a while, as well as, actually more importantly for me, promotion. Like, the video won't get put in people's recommended feeds and that when it gets flagged like this, all just because YouTube is so screwed up. But you can request a manual review where someone at YouTube is supposed to watch your video and see if there's actually something wrong with it. And if not, they'll approve it and switch monetization and that back on. But in this case, I was told that a manual review still found this video to be inappropriate. I don't buy that garbage for a second, so I'm re-uploading it with an alternate title, and we'll see what happens. If you do decide to stick around and watch it for the first time, or even a second time, I just want to say thank you. And let me know in the comments after you've watched it, what do you think was so inappropriate, so scandalous about this video that it wasn't suitable for mass audiences? Alright, I think it's time we directly address a trend that I think is a growing issue in video games because one, I'm just fed up with it at this point, and two, I'm starting to get the impression that this is something that these companies, certainly don't care about, but I'm even starting to wonder if it's intentional. Are you guys doing this on purpose? Because either you are, or you're just complete idiots. It's one of the two. I've talked in the past about digital versus physical games. Myself, I prefer buying games physically. I like the ownership of it. I like being able to hold it in my hands, sell it, trade it, lend it out to a friend. This also gives me the ability to buy used games from other people. And of course, the concept of preservation. My physical games aren't going anywhere. If these digital services shut down one day, I still have my physical games. Nintendo themselves, not long ago, announced they are going to shut down the Wii Shop channel for the Wii. Once that happens, you will no longer be able to download any purchases you made on that system. They're gone forever. So if you are someone who spent a lot of money on the Wii Shop, I hope you got it all backed up somewhere. This is all the crux of why a lot of us buy physical. Now, I'm not trying to sell you on physical games with this video. If you prefer having your games digital, great. I have no problem with that. I want everyone to have the option to do whatever they want. I want you to be able to buy everything you want digitally, so I'd hope you'd want me to be able to buy my stuff physically. Well, I get worried more and more that the latter may be in jeopardy, not because of a lack of interest, but because, like I mentioned, the cheapness, the laziness of these game companies, and once more, it's starting to look like it could be intentional. To be clear, when us physical buyers purchase a game, and I think those of you who are will agree with me on this, we want the entire game to be on that physical media we've purchased. Whether it be a disc, a cartridge, whatever. And we want the game to be fully playable off of that. Do games these days often get patches and bug fixes, the dreaded day one patch? Sure. And we understand this happens, but the game should still be playable without it. Maybe it has bugs and glitches you discover later. But when a game goes gold, we often see this on social media, it's a trend these days. The studio, when their game goes gold, they do a big announcement for it, like on Twitter. That means it's ready to go to print. And what you print should be playable. And if not, don't fucking print it. Now, do issues arise that make this not possible sometimes? Sure. And I think as consumers we're pretty accommodating, especially if you're a big Switch user like myself. We get that sometimes we have to make sacrifices to get games on the system at all. Doom, I actually think, handled this very well with the single-player campaign being available on the card, but the online multiplayer had to be downloaded. Obviously, like with the preservation idea I mentioned earlier, if you're going to lose access to anything, it may as well be the online multiplayer. If these services get shut down, you wouldn't be able to play the game online anyway, so that's fine. But when like Capcom comes out with the Mega Man Legacy Collection combo packs, these games that have incredibly small file sizes, and an entire collection has to be downloaded via a code, it's like, come on, why am I even buying this physically if you're going to stick me with a code? Things like this seem to be getting more and more common too, and Activision apparently wants to get in on the action in terms of screwing over physical users with this upcoming Spyro release. If you go to the pre-order page on the main site for the game, you'll notice this. For both the Xbox One and PS4 versions of the Reignited trilogy, a download is required to play the second and third games, meaning only the first game is fully playable off the disc. We don't know what this download is. Could be the entirety or the majority of each of these games, or patches that fix some game-breaking bug. I'm sorry, there is just no excuse for this, in my opinion. For one, these discs hold a lot of data. We get massive, sprawling, open-world RPGs that have been built from the ground up for these modern systems that are able to fit their games on a single disc. I refuse to believe that only one of these Spyro remasters can fit on the disc. I can't fathom a world where that's the case. For comparison, their last remastered collection for Crash Bandicoot did not have this problem. All 3 games for that one were on the disc. But even if this was the case, let's pretend these games are like 30 gigs each for some insane reason. Why not just put them on multiple discs? Again, this isn't like the Switch where, yeah, those specialty cards are a bit pricey. These Blu-ray discs are dirt cheap, especially when you factor in how many games these companies produce at a time. You know they're getting massive discounts on their discs. And we have seen other collections encounter this very problem. The BioShock collection came with 2 discs, having the first and second games on one disc, with BioShock Infinite on the second. The Return to Arkham collection is another one. Arkham Asylum on one disc, Arkham City on the other. So yeah, even though I don't see these individual Spyro remasters being as big as a BioShock or Arkham remaster, even if they are, put them on different discs, for Christ's sake. Activision did comment on this and give us the, typical BS, oh, a lot of games require download these days, so just that's the way our game is. And going off of that, the only other thing I can think of is these games are really buggy or they're not finished, and that's why they require the download. Still, okay, so you're incompetent. That's not really a good reason. And what is just driving me crazy about these sorts of actions is it almost feels like you're trying to kill physical games. Like you're gimping these releases so hard, it's starting to feel intentional. Like, are you doing this on purpose? This kind of stuff is making me really start to think that these companies are just trying to snuff out physical games. Every day, it's feeling more and more like that. They don't like you owning your games. They want to own your games and then license them to you. When you go to the store, they want you to just buy those stupid cards with download codes on them, or, an empty box that just has a code in it. Or better yet, subscribe to their game services that everyone is so high on right now. Now I know, and I've admitted it in the past, we're moving towards a more digital future. People are willing to sacrifice ownership for convenience. Just look at the success of the streaming services for all other media right now, music, TV, and movies. It only makes sense that games will follow suit. However, that time is not now. And as long as there is a market for physical games, you should be servicing that market. Things do get phased out. They go away. Like with Best Buy announcing they're not going to carry CDs anymore because no one was buying CDs. Everyone does digital music for the most part these days. Fine. But people were given the option. Do you want your album on a CD, or do you want to download it on iTunes? And people have been choosing those digital options, the download, the streaming, in such high numbers that it just didn't make sense for Best Buy to carry CDs anymore. That happens, but either way, you were given the complete option. These music companies weren't going, oh, you can download the album on iTunes or buy the CD with 5 songs on it, but the rest still need to be downloaded from iTunes, which would have forced people into saying, fuck it, at this point, I might as well just switch to iTunes entirely since I gotta download all this crap anyway. And that is very much what I feel we are starting to see more and more of with a lot of these big gaming companies. Like, who would have thought even just a few years ago, indie games were going to be giving us some of the best physical offerings available, when once it was a rarity for any indie game to even get a physical release at all. Now you've got limited run games churning them out. With Switch games, they've stopped even limiting the number of standard editions they make because they sell so many and they make so much money off of them. And with these collections, you're clearly going after an older market, largely collectors. It's in the name. The people who grew up with these games. Obviously, that pool is going to have a huge amount of people who want that physical copy, who want that ownership. And you give them this one Spyro remastered game on the disc, it's a joke. And that's what this release is starting to turn into, honestly, a joke. And what a shame, too, because this is something I know for a fact myself and many others were looking forward to buying physically. And as I was saying earlier, you still can, but it's starting to become like, what's even the point if I've got to download the majority of the game anyway? And with something like this Spiral Collection, it is really starting to feel like we're moving past the, oh, they're just lazy, oh, they're just cheap type excuses. This is starting to feel, at least to me, like it's intentional. They want to make that physical version less appealing to get people to go digital. Because yeah, like I said, what's the excuse? With how much this irritates the player base, and they've surely seen reactions to like the Mega Man collection on Switch, and how upset players got with Capcom on that one. When these companies keep making the same decisions over and over again, provoking increasing backlash from the fans, at some point you have to ask if they're doing this on purpose. Either way, whether you are or you're not, can you guys just stop it? Please? Anyway, with that, this video's a wrap. Let me know your thoughts on these digital dealings in the comments. If you're someone who buys physical games, does this sort of stuff make you less inclined to go physical, or maybe even pass the game entirely? Hey guys, if you're new to the channel and enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing. And if you've already subscribed, check to make sure you're still subscribed, as YouTube has really been screwing me over in every way imaginable lately, so I wouldn't be surprised if people get unsubbed. If you want to keep the conversation going, hit me up on Twitter at JohnnyZakari and join my Discord, ChiGuy and Friends, linked to both in the description below. And as always, thanks for watching.